Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here, Angelus, son of Abaddon. And tonight I'd like to further the request by my viewers on breaking down necromancy. So tonight, since last time I talked about Nikia, tonight I'd like to talk about Nigromancy. Okay? What is Nigromancy? Well, Nigromancy, when you break it down into the various definition of what it is the word Niger or nigger is classified as black. Okay. And when you get into Mancy or Mancia, okay, it means prophecy or divination. Okay. So basically, this is being transferred into black magic. Okay. Black magic is one of the oldest traditions out there and one of the most feared. And this is why. Since the Dark Ages, going into the Crusades, getting into the Holy Wars, the Dark Ages, and such, even if you want to go into, say, Islamic, Jewish, or even the, how should I say this? The Neoplatonic influences into what Nigromancy is. We see where there are a lot of things that were pulled to create it into a form of spiritualism, not just from the ancient Greek root, which dealt with conjuration or shamanism, but we see it getting into areas of hermeneutics. We see it getting into the grimoire systems. Okay, and it's really interesting because of the fact that alchemy was influenced in this path working because of how it related to both shamanism and necromancy. More so, it was classified as being the Black Earth. Now, where does the grimoire systems lead you, especially that of, say, demonolatry? Okay, just think about that for just a minute. It's heavily rooted in the medieval Christian era of demonolatry. If you're not of their god, guess what? You must be of the devil. Okay? Now, they didn't really classify any given system as what we know today. But when we get into it, the old French word, spelled Alquimie, or the medieval Latin term, Alkimie, Arabic, alchimia, okay, Kimia, otherwise known as chem or chemia, okay, Khemeia, all right. And then you have the Egyptian root, and this is where we're really going to get into the demonolatry aspect, is chemi, okay? Chemi is the Egyptian word for the physical transformation, okay? Think of the Philosopher's Stone. Think of the seals and sigilliums that you use today, okay? A lot of these came from the Egyptian roots, not just the Greek or the Roman, the Latin. But it also means black magic or the black earth. Okay. Now, one of the main papers that are out there, or one of the main figures associated with necromancy or nigromancy, was the papal bull, which was founded around 1326 and speaks to the pestilential plague. Okay. Now, this plague was supposedly done by nigromancers or necromancers. Okay. And we all know where the church stands. They wanted to stomp out everybody in that time frame. And it was funny because of the fact when we get into this path working or this root working, we see where Nigromancy was linked to devil or demon worship because of the translation to black magic from the Egyptian pantheon. Hey, Holly, Shelley, what's going on? Now, when we get into the three main aspects of necromancy or black magic, or even into Catholicism, okay, just think about this for an example. When we get into most of the demonic summonings today, what is it we say? Okay, I conjure thee, I summon thee, I invoke thee. Okay, right? This is how we normally do it. We invoke, summon, and conjure thee. Well, guess what? What in the old days, it wasn't like that. Okay, in the old days, no matter if it was the Egyptian around the first, second dynasty, to the ancient Greek, Nicaea, or to the Latin variation of necromancy known as, oh, sure, rub that in. Where's my coffee, Holly? I mean, come on. I mean, I've only worked a full day's work, and I played with my son tonight. Okay, before dropping him off at grandma's. Where's my coffee? Oh, that's right. I left it at work. Just kidding. But anyways, in the old days, we have what is known as the Latin terms. Okay, now conjuro. Okay, conjuro, conjuro. Okay, adjure or exorcizo. Okay, basically meaning I conjure, I adjure, and I exercise thee. Okay. Now, what's interesting to note as well is the fact that there are quite a few sources that literally speak to this. I mean, when you get into it, I mean, Augustine, for an example, suggested that demons were natural bodies of air. They were natural bodies of air and allowed, and I'm going to say this again, and allowed, they may be also corporeal. Now we're looking at a second century variation of what their view was of a spirit. But let's jump forth to 1272, to the year 1272. Thomas Aquinas, one of the best mages or magi out there, one of the best sources of occultism out there that a lot of people talk about. Now, his thought upon this was that demons were incorporeal. Okay, incorporeal. Think about that. They did not have bodies, whereas Augustine suggested that they did and could take upon it, and were compressed air, kind of like a scuba kit, if you think about it, compressed air. Huh. Well, let's just jump forward here to 1486. The handbook Malleus Maleficarum, otherwise known as the witch's hammer, drew upon Aquinas' work and said that demons spoke through the elements and of the environment. Okay? Just think about this for just a minute. We know that through the history, the mythology, through context of the victors, such as the witch's hammer, the witch trials, the burning times, the Dark Ages and the Crusades, the Holy Wars. Even the Grimwork systems themselves have different perspectives on this. Now, why was this? Well, let's just take a look for just a second. Nigromancy was associated with alchemy, things of enlightenment, spiritual conjuration. Now, it was said that certain gems or certain rings were created to entrap or ensnare the jinn. Yeah, I know. Ta-da! Yep, Dunkin' Donuts. And by the way, it's now called Dunkin', not Dunkin' Donuts. They dropped the donuts aspect. Just to let you know, Holly. But my point is this. When we look at the Solomantic texts, the clavicle of Solomon, it was said that he ensnared 72 demons, became known as the lesser key of Solomon, okay? The Goetia. And each one of these he controlled with this magical ring, right? Now, picture in Islamic texts, the Arabic traditions, something like a red ruby, a freshly made philosopher's stone, a red gem, a ruby, could entrap a jinn to where it lived and had to manifest from that gem. You're welcome, Holly. And to be fair, I've had way too much coffee already. But think about it, though. The gem literally held the spirit. But yet here we are, say, the Black Raven, the threefold coercion of hell, as it was, the Faustian deals. Or better yet, let's go back into the Grand Grimoire, both the Grand Grimoire and the Grand Grimoire Red Dragon. Now, what was it they used to force the demon to do what they wanted? Oh, right, that was a rod of power. A rod of power. Okay? Now, how do you work and create a rod of power or a philosopher's stone? A magical ring? Alchemy. Alchemy. Okay? Now, think about this for just a moment. Now, think about this for just a moment. You have to break something down to its most basic components, such as geometric shapes, hermeneutics, Kabbalah, which are originators out of that region of the world, the Middle East. The jinn are the oldest known got a cat trying to squeeze her way underneath a desk over here. It's amazing how they can do that. 72 jinn became the 72 demons of the Goetia. Everything of the Dark Ages was a demon. Everything around them became evil because they were told that they were evil. But when we think about it and actually do our homework into this region of practice, Nigromancy, the art of black magic, divination through alchemy, the black earth, form of transformation. The very practitioners who gave the church such, well, let's just say problems were clerics, people who could read and write, those associated with nobility. Most of the practitioners, such as the Agi or the Strega, the Hexa, even, they learned through trial and error, through actual practicing of these arts. And I find it interesting because the fact the more we get into it, we see how it's going from being associated with shamanism to being more spiritual in nature with magical rings and stones, things that were more or less associated with summoning of spirits. Nicaea was a spiritual foundation. It was a path to summon and ask questions about past, present, and future things. Whereas Nigromancy became associated with specific types of spirits. It became associated with evil. It became associated with witchcraft. It became associated with alchemy. It became associated with the manifestation of spirits to make pacts, to make deals, to be a form of devil worship and spiritual enlightening. And in some aspects, through the heavily demonized influence of the Christian era of the late Dark Ages, Holy Wars, Crusades, witch trials, and burning times, we also see where it became associated with Satanism. Anything not of their God was of the devil. You remember what I said in the last video about Orion? Okay, Orion being the opposer to Ahura Mazda, or Belial to Michael, Marduk to Tiamat, or Tiamat to Marduk, I should say, Satan to Yahweh, Lucifer to Jesus. Or if you want to go into Slavic traditions, let's go with Chernobog versus Belobog, or Inti, or Supe versus Inti in Inca. You go into any system worldwide and you're going to see these two opposing forces of light and darkness. And what's interesting is the balancing factor. You remember what I said at the beginning of this video, where it was associated with the elements, that these beings, according to Agrippa and Augustine, believed so heavily that these spirits didn't have bodies, but could manifest a body through the elements. Ironic how King Solomon supposedly invoked these demons. Patricia and Lionel Fanthorpe, for an example. What was it called? Devils, Demons, and Demonolatry, I think it is. I want to say it was Devils and Demons, if I remember correctly. It was said that Belial just strolled in after he sent forth his trumpet players, his inner court, bowed to King Solomon and offered his services. But yet, if we get into Nicholas Remy in his book Demonolatry, an ancient account of witchcraft, not only goes into the various different names of accused practitioners. I can't tell you how many accused are in that book. But he also compares it to alchemy and powders, poisons even. And when we get it further in and we get up towards the 15th century, Nigromancy, which was spelled with an I-N-I-G-R-O, became associated with blood sorcery. Blood sorcery, vampirism, okay? And this is where it literally gets broken down into devil lore, because of the fact that when we get into vampirism and blood sorcery, the new variation was N-Y-G-R-O, Nigromancy with an I, and it became known as spiritual summonings. It literally became all about occultism. The Faustian deal, going off into the crossroads, going off into the cemeteries or the forests, making deals with a wizard, and so forth. Blood could heal and it could also kill. And that set the stage for the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries of political warfare and assassinations, long before we set the stage for Satanism and today's root in Greek, necromancy. But what's ironic, though, is that when we get into the 18th century, we've also seen Reginald Scott's book, Discovery, with an I-E at the end. Discovery, not the Y, but the I-E at the end. Discovery of Witchcraft, where it became similar to the grimoire systems of the Grand Grimoire, that of the Constitution of Pope Honorius. Ironically, Pope Honorius was also a cleric. But more so, he introduces the 7 crown princes of hell, the Olympic spirits, and so forth. Not just alchemy and astrology, other sciences. Alchemy, chemy, with nigromantic practices of spiritual conjuration. Okay? So yes, there's a lot of information that I could still go into on this, but I don't want to blow your minds with all the information that this one has to offer. So I'm going to allow you to take the resources that I've said here today, or I should say tonight, and to delve in for yourself. See where it leads you. Don't be afraid to go into various different regions of the world, the old world, not just the new world or South America. Trust me, there's so much out there that you don't know. Systems of magic that you don't know and are unaware of. And I guarantee it, you're gonna come out with your mind shattered going, what the fuck? Okay? Why have we been led down a desolate road through this believing in the Judo-Christian lie? Well, guess what? You're seeing the big picture now through necromancy, nigromancy, and nakia. Okay? And my next video will be on necromancy. And I will be bringing in other sources into this as well, not just reading from my personal grimoire on necromancy. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right? I want to thank Shelly333 and Holly for joining in on me, joining in on this video with me. And, you know, it was nice picking on you, Holly. All right? So until next time, I hope this has been, hey, even Nikki D1919. Well, actually, Nikki, you're actually at the end of the video. But don't worry, you'll be able to start off at the beginning. All right? You welcome, Shelly333 and Holly. Hey, we got to have fun sooner or later. You know what I'm saying? You got to pick on each other, you give and take. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people pick on me, and I do the same. So it's all good. And welcome to the channel, Custom Made Incense. Better late than never. Just kidding. It is the end of the video, but it will be here. All right? Have a good day. Or night, depending on where you are.